Hey y'all, happy Sunday. I found out earlier this week that it is National Pizza Day here in the good old US of A. I had no idea we had a day that celebrated pizza, and I think this is only the second year. I'm not sure. I forgot what spawned this particular occasion, but what the heck? Don't most people like pizza? I almost said everybody, but obviously there's probably those people that don't, so I don't want to make assumptions, but it's a pretty universally acceptable, delicious food that's pretty versatile too. You can do everything you want with it, almost anything you want with it. In fact, you can do anything you want with it, it's just whether or not it's socially acceptable to do what you want with it, right? So I figured, since it's a food-oriented holiday, and I'm sure there are plenty more of those throughout the year, I would take a bit of time to do a quick video about the different foods that the cast of the Cataxians like. Yes, that's right, it's a tie-in video. What the heck? Any opportunity to talk a bit about the story. So we're going to just get that going now, and we're going to start with, obviously, the main character, Silas. Now, between him and Kaitax, we're going to do twice, because they're different in between. So you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So for Silas, before he was merged with Kaitax, he has a bit of a tragic, cruddy backstory. I'm trying not to curse this time around because I have no idea how IGTV takes cursing. I'm assuming not well, so we're going to try to avoid that. And that we're going to get a fun little bleep button to fix it up in editing. But anyway, Silas before Kaitax was rather a nomadic kind of figure. He didn't really have a set place to belong. He ran away from home rather young, fell into a really bad relationship, relatively young, stayed in it way too long. Well, he wasn't all that young, he wasn't like an idiot teenager anymore, but he still fell into a bad relationship, stayed there longer than he should have. So, throughout most of his life, he was pretty much like, he'd eat what he'd get, whatever he'd get his hands on, that's what he ate. There wasn't really the luxury of having a favorite food, but, once he made the jump out to La Sombra, that's when he continued his trend of not eating right, but eventually he ended up getting very ill, and, dragging himself over to the diner, which was like the only real social place in the entire town left, and he collapsed on the floor, and that's when Jaren and his father decided that they were going to actually try to take care of this person, because he was in a wreck, and he had no idea how to feed himself or really take care of himself or eat, good. He could eat crap while he had to, he ate the rations from the Riftworks, he ate, vending machine food, he ate whatever was cheap and easy to get his hands on, and he has a son, so that's not really gonna work. You can't bring home junk food to feed your son, and he knew that, so for the longest time he actually was sending his son to the diner to eat, but he would never go himself, but finally, he almost bites the bullet, and he goes, and there's a whole sequence that's currently really unwritten where Jaren's dad will just feed him everything he can get his hands on, because he's one of those people that's like, food is it, food is everything, food is life. Jaren's the same way. But after all he went through, after going through the entire diner menu pretty much, Silas's favorite food kind of became Jaren's spin on the family honeyed ham. So that's Silas's favorite food. Jaren specifically is honey ham, not the Miles' honey ham, but Jaren's honeyed ham. So take that what you will. It's his favorite food. At least pre-Kaitax. Post-Kaitax, there's Silas. Now he's also not human anymore. I've been bouncing between Voidlord and Dreadlord. I think we're going to end up going with Dreadlord because, side video will probably come up about why I'm trying to avoid Void. But, he's now not human. He's now a completely different species, but he's the same consciousness. So obviously he still carries some of all of his original likes and personality traits, but at the same time he now has different compulsions, sort of like base compulsions. So I wrote down on the script as a kind of a joke. Silas, with Kaitax in his system, his favorite food is the flesh and blood of his enemies and all who would threaten those he holds dear, and also Jaren's honeyed ham. Oh Jesus, it's hard to really talk about that because honestly, neither of them are big on that whole eating people thing, but it's a thing that apparently occurs at some point. Actually, that's a good segue into Kaitax, because the reason why that's there is because when Kaitax was, he was imprisoned on Cataxia. That was his life. for thousands and thousands of years. He really doesn't remember his life before that point, and he just knows his existence was in the caverns and the darkness, and that's pretty much it. He didn't know what was nutritiously right for him, obviously. That wasn't like a thing, and since he's a being from like the realm betwixt realms, he really probably isn't gonna say my favorite food is this. But somewhere along the line, his captors, the Cataxians, decided that he was, gonna be the disposal unit for criminals and unwanted. So they were pretty much feeding him mortal flesh nonstop. And it became something of a addiction, as much as he didn't really enjoy it, because for him there's a lot of implications in eating a person. So not big on it, but that's just what he was subjected to. Sorry, his ward would occasionally buck that and bring him like fruits and vegetables from hydroponics, and that's what he liked. He liked fruits and vegetables. He was really into, I wouldn't say necessarily a balanced diet, but, having something different. He never, again, kind of like Silas, he never really had the ability to try things and say, oh, this is my favorite. But one thing he did actually like a lot, and of all the vegetables and stuff Sari brought him, her favorite vegetable was something I'm calling it for now a postle. And the postle I have described as a slightly meatier tomato type thing. Obviously, since it's grown in the void, it's going to be a little on the purpley side instead of red and green. So like a green to purple type growth system. Looks, in my mind, kind of similar to a tomato, slightly different growth process, but I haven't nailed down the flora just yet. But she likes them, so she would bring him them, and Kaitax likes them a lot too, because they're nice and fleshy and meaty, but they're not a person. So it's nice. It kind of gives the good meaty texture without actually like killing someone. So he's a fan of those. But obviously, since he's no longer on Cataxia, and those aren't an option anymore, and actually hydroponics died years before the story even began. Now that he's with Silas on Earth, he still has real problems with addiction to mortal flesh, but he's starting to eat tomatoes, a lot of tomatoes, and he's also accepted and kind of himself developed a liking for Jaren's honeyed ham. So Kaitax is kind of split between eating copious amounts of fleshy vegetables and ham right now, because again, he has the horrible addiction to human flesh, but he's really not wanting to go down that path, because maybe we'll get into that whole system later. There's a whole big problem with that, him being what he is and interacting with a mortal in that fashion. So that was a good segue. Yay! So from there we can now leave Silas and Kaitax behind. They're the complicated ones. So we'll move on to Jaren. Yay! I love Jaren. He's like probably my favorite character in the entire story. He is I keep calling him a world-class chef. His family was built around cooking food, like soul food, good food, American food, diner food, fried food, that kind of stuff. Story behind that was his dad used to live out somewhere in the East Coast or something like that, and he decided he wanted to strike out new, so he went out west and put all his savings into making this little diner in a nowhere town. Why he chose a nowhere town, it was, I think, in my mentality, that it looked nice. It was calm, it was happy, it was a gentle place to be, and he was tired of fast-paced life. So this guy went ahead and built his own diner, and he made sure there's like a top floor which has an apartment in it. So there's the diner on the bottom, diner, kitchen, and then the top floor has all the living arrangements. So that was it. That was their home. That was where they worked. That's where Jaren grew up. His father, I think I'm going to say his father had some semblance of formal training. I don't think he went to full-on like culinary school, but he had like good chef mentors. And Jaren was mentored by his father in turn. So Jaren obviously has had a lot of different kinds of food, and he's had a lot of time to think about what he likes. And of all the things he's made, of all the things his father has made and he's made, and all the things he's experienced in life, which is pretty diverse, he likes cheeseburgers. He likes a grilled cheeseburger with french fries. home cut French fries. He won't eat frozen. In fact, that's actually a minor subplot that comes up a little later. I'll do it right now because we're about to. Sorry's coming up soon, but one of the scenes that I actually just wrote was about them coming back from groceries. They left Silas home because he's not in the best of shape, but they leave him home. They go get groceries and they stop for fast food, which Jaren is opposed to. He'll eat it and he's not gonna bitch about it too much, but it's like, ugh, I can make it better type person. But he since sorry, I'll get to her in a minute, but she's vegan. She does not eat meat, dairy, or anything like that. It's part of her living situation, and she's seeing no reason to change that. But she has French fries, and obviously that defeats vegan because it's from like McDonald's and they're not exactly cooked in an environment that's vegan comfortable. But she's making some minor concessions here because she's not really up on the politics yet. But she has like McDonald's French fries and adores them. And it horrifies Jaren to absolutely no end. So he buys like 5 or 6 different kinds of potatoes and vows to make every kind of French fry he can think of until he converts Sari away from fast food French fries. And since he's again a very meat and potatoes kind of guy, he is working very hard on trying to accommodate her eating situation because it's in La Sombra, there's not a lot of commodity and a lot of room for perishables, and fruits and vegetables are perishables. Meat can be frozen, fruit you can freeze too, that's true. But it's a lot of carb diet. Back when he was stuck in the bomb shelter with Daniel, they lived on like beans and corn and starchy carby shit, and it's not great for you, But they're trying to adjust back to normalcy, and since it's hard to maintain, you can't grow fruit and vegetables in the mist, not normal fruit and vegetables. That'll be addressed later down the line in the story. Spoiler, they do eventually figure out how to do it, and it's not easy to do a harvest, but that's, a thing. So Jaren's going out of his way to do his absolute best to keep a whole set of vegan equipment so he can make sure Sari is kept vegan, because not that she has an adverse reaction, she hasn't really had meat or cheese, just no interest to her. She grew up in Cataxia, which was very limited. It had no meat. It had very little in the way of, quote, dairy. It wasn't really even dairy. It was like what you would call nut milk kind of stuff, which isn't dairy at all. But when they did their whole little diaspora to underground, they didn't bring meat. That wasn't, they kind of knew that wasn't going to happen, because originally we're farming void spawns on the surface of the planet and using their meat, but that wasn't going to work, because if they brought them down, then that means all the spawns could follow them down and other dreadlords could follow them down. So they had to abandon that whole meat concept, and they made an extremely elaborate set of hydroponics that fed the entire subterranean country and our world. It was a world, and this thing was massive, and they grew every plant and vegetable, fruit, whatever, everything, grains, it was all there. So that was the lifestyle of the Cataxians. They did not have meat and they did not have dairy. So that's just how she is, and I don't think I'll change that. I think she's fine the way she is, and we'll figure out how to make that work with everybody else. But then we have Daniel, who technically came after Jaren, but on the list, but hey, we just did Sari real quick. But let's go back to Daniel. He's similar to Silas in that, first of all, he's a kid, so he's had even less time to really figure his shit out. And since he is his father's son, he has been pretty much in deep shit most of his life, and hadn't really had a chance to really try a vast amount or a varied amount of food until he got to La Sombra. And he discovered, through Jaren, of course, that he loved grilled cheese and french fries. Jaren's grilled cheese and french fries. Because upon trying that anywhere else, upon getting a grilled cheese at any other establishment and french fries anywhere else, he came quickly to realize that it was not grilled cheese and french fries, it was Jaren's grilled cheese and french fries. I don't know what the secret is. But it's apparently whatever food exists, Jaren makes it better somehow. So, Daniel is a very simple boy who just loves his carbs, so... In the original series, actually going back real quick, in the original series, in the opening scene, I think I think I said this before, but it's best described as like a Western. But the opening scene was basically the cast, and the main cast, which at the time was Silas, Sari, and Daniel walking into Jaren's bar and sitting down to have dinner, and Daniel orders like 3 grilled cheeses and 2 servings of fries and like 3 chocolate milks, you know, very kid stuff. But I remember that was like, that would have been me if I was a kid. I would have ordered that. I would have had so many grilled cheeses. So yeah, that's Daniel. He's not exactly diverse in his palate, but he's only like, he starts the story at 12. Starts the story at like 10. He's 12 now. So, you know, he's a kid. He'll grow. Bouncing back to Sari, like I mentioned before, her favorite food is those tomato-like things. Yeah, so a little on those. Like I said, I'm calling them apostles for now. That'll probably change. But I think what the apostles was, they'd go green to purple. Everything took on the tinge of purple just because that's the kind of light that was coming through. Everything was stained that misty purple. So everything kind of took on that hue. According to what I wrote, they're best before they're ripe, because they're still a little sweet. Like they have a sweet and spicy balance. But as soon as they get ripe, they become more of a spice, like what we'd call like a hot pepper. So they would become kind of not a diverse, but a useful, I'll remember the word when I'm done with this, but a widely used spice, something to add some zing to your dish. But Sari liked them pre-ripening, which meant they were sweet and spicy. So, yum. And finally, the last person on the cast currently is Arya. And Arya is a vegetarian. She still does the milk and cheese, but she's actually probably a lot like me in that she's working towards, you know, kind of getting away from that entirely. And I'm actually doing really bad at my whole vegetarian vow, so we'll start that back up once this time in our lives has passed. So Arya is a vegetarian. She's not really, I mean, like Sari and Arya are not the way they are for any political or moral reasons. Arya a little more because of morality. I don't really go into it directly, but Arya is Muslim, so she obviously won't eat pork, and she has just no interest in meat. One of her favorite foods, though, is pizza. So there you go. There's the grand tie-in. She's a surgeon at a hospital, and she works all kinds of crazy hours. So her favorite food has become pizza from this little dive, like about far from her hospital, and she likes black olives and onions on top of her pizza. And what's kind of funny that I actually like, this place is a greasy dive, and because she came by so much, they actually set aside an entire like pork-free set of utensils, and what is it called? The pizza peel. They have a specific pizza peel that they now use for all their vegetarian and vegan dishes, because it doesn't interact with meat or pork specifically. So because of her, and she never really made a fuss over it. She would just, you know, eat what she got, and obviously she just chose not to have the pork, but the whole establishment was like, no, we don't, it's fine, we'll just get another set. So this little dive becomes not just a dive, but like a beacon of vegetarian and vegan lifestyle, because I don't think pizza's not vegan. I can't say pizza's vegan because it's got the cheese on top. So scratch vegan, but vegetarian. Because it has a whole set that doesn't interact with meat at all. So moral vegetarians, there's your pizza joint. So that's pretty much, I think that's the main cast as it stands right now. How are we missing? Anybody? We could talk about Quip real quick. Quip's not a person, but he has, you know, sapience. He's almost sapient. He's completely sentient, obviously. All animals are, I believe, if I'm remembering my terminology correctly. Sapience is the ability to reason. I'm not going to Google that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. He can on a pretty basic level, and he can communicate too through telepathy. That's something for a whole nother time. But Quip is a spawn. He is apex predator level spawn. He's actually the kind of spawn that's only superseded by a dreadlord. So, he's smart, he's fast, he's built to kill, and he's incredibly intelligent, but he's also a little goofball. But his favorite food, it's hard to say because he's, it's like what's a wolf's favorite food? They'll get what they get. But, Quip originally would just, get what he got. But after the whole incident of Silas leaving for Cataxia and Henley, we're going to keep calling him Henley, trying to terrorize the crap out of what was left of the family, Jaren and Daniel, Quip's favorite food quickly became Watchers. And Watchers are, they don't look like they're the most nutritious thing in the world. They're kind of like, almost like skin, bone, and feathers. They've got, describing those, they've got perfectly round golden eyes and like a beak full of teeth and, arms that are winged, that are like tattered feathered wings. They fly, they're angry, they shriek like hell, and they've got like double jointed legs, claws everywhere, spines everywhere. They're gross, they're ugly, but for some reason Quip likes them, and that might be slightly related to the fact that he was pretty much tasked with eliminating them when they'd come around to try to bother Jaren and Daniel. So he decided that that's pretty much it, and Henley has left town now, so I have no idea what's going to happen with the Watcher situation. They'll probably still come around, honestly. But, so I think that pretty much covers everyone now, if we're counting the pets and animals. I'm just going through. I guess we could say Henley real quick. But I guess we could do Henley real quick. That would spoil a little, because it kind of matters what Henley is. Okay, so big ass spoiler alert. If you actually care about the story, you can either put a timestamp in here to tell you where to skip to avoid this, or you can just listen, and it's, maybe it's more obvious than I like to lead to on to be, but Henley is Horrocks. Horrocks is a dreadlord, and therefore he has pretty much either no taste in food, because food is a mortal concept, or he would eat other spawns. That's pretty much it. He's not overly complex. In fact, he's probably the only person in the story that has no real interest in food at all. Because unlike Kaitex technically is also a dreadlord, but he has a food fascination himself, but that's because it goes deeper, but that's basically because he spent most of his conscious life around mortals that he's aware of, but it goes even further than that. But dreadlords are all different. Void dreadlords are all different in what their acclamations towards food is. It's most universally accepted that they at least eat human or mortal consciousnesses. That's the basis. They're sometimes picky, sometimes they're not, but when they do the whole, and according to the story, according to lore, as far as I have it, only several of them have ever, several out of 9, only a few of them have ever had physical manifestations, and it's only when there's a physical manifestation that they have to figure out eating as a concept. And I don't know about all the others, but Horrocks pretty much settled for what he had. He had other spawns and nothing, and that was quite fine with him. He is not big on that. So that was my chair just now. I might need a new chair. So that is the food capades. I think I know I've pretty much got everybody. I'm trying to go through it real quick. Yeah, that's them. That's the cast at this point. There are others. There will be others. There's a few more coming up on the horizon. And maybe we'll do this again next year for National Pizza Day. Or maybe we'll do it later this year when another food-related holiday comes around. Because I'm 90% sure there are other food-related holidays. So, yeah. So one last thing I'd like to bring up at the end of this video is that the Cataxians actually has a sponsor through Patreon now. Which is, really, really, really exciting. I really did not expect that this would happen so quickly. But I am incredibly grateful nonetheless. It's from a group that I've been part of for quite some time, and I was really, really surprised when they decided to support me this way. It's called Second Mass, and it's a community of all-inclusive people with strong LGBTQ support and leanings. It's basically a social group to hang out in and meet some new awesome people. As of right now, it consists of 2 Facebook pages and a Discord server. One Facebook page is a support group for all kinds of discussions. And the other one is it's a meme page. It's fun. They're good memes. They're nothing too radical or extraordinary. They're good though. So it's all a lot of fun, and if you're interested in checking it out, you can just join one of the Facebook pages and just ask for a link to the Discord server if you'd like. I think you all know how Discord works, but this is a pretty good, awesome server full of awesome people with plenty of people to talk to about anything you want, and maybe even make some new friends, which would be cool. That's how I met some really good friends. In fact, I've got a really long-lasting friend from this group. So anyway, if that sounds like something you might be interested in, there are links to the Facebook pages in the description to this video. Give them a look. And as always, since it's just an experience and it's not a service, you can just check it out. If you don't find it your thing, that's fine. If you do, I'm really glad you did. So that's it. And this ties up this little video about the Cataxians lore. I should be back again sometime soon with another video that will probably begin the character bio series. I've been wanting to do that for a while because I'm really a big fan of my own characters, and I love to talk about their lives and what their experiences, which you can read all about that too in the story, but there's backstory and stuff that I'd love to get into, and I love them so much. So videos are on the way. I think that's about it for now. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this little video and stay tuned for the next one. Until then, much love, Tab.